Sup Shredders, my name is Logan, aka Spiderhands, and welcome to an SP Reviews, where today we got ourselves a track from an act named Northwest, titled North Forever. And if we switch over to here, we got ourselves a track on the screen, the official music video. Apparently this is off of the North Forever EP, if I'm not mistaken. I saw the art for this, thought that it looked pretty metal, and I was keen to give it a try. So we're going to listen through this track from start till finish. And we're gonna hear what we think. Let's do it, let's go. I mean, it's ferocious immediately. I dig those guitar harmonies alongside the tuned vocals. A sick little guitar solo here. Genuinely, I do dig it. I dig it. I'm going to talk about it more in the conclusion. Because welcome to the conclusion of my review of this track from Northwest, titled North Forever. In this section, we're going to provide an overall song analysis of everything from lyrics and vocals all the way through to studio production, as well as any applicable constructive critique, and then finally my general thoughts from a listener's perspective. But first of all, what do we think this track is about? I think simultaneously as it's Northwest indicating on I think this is their first release if I'm not mistaken, that they're here to stay and that they're not going anywhere anytime soon. It's also discussing the fact that they're aware of the people around them not necessarily being genuine. They're not listening, but they understand that people are talking about them a lot of the time. They feel like every direction they go in is the wrong one. And it just seems like they're trying to find themselves as they go through this dark forest and try to find some sort of light or find a key to the end of the tunnel there. And it's to unlock that door at the end, maybe to a brighter place, somewhere where they feel more okay with themselves. Maybe that's almost to suggest that this release for them, this EP, is a way of their finding some sort of sanctuary or sort of place where they can be themselves and let people know, hey, this is truly who I am. There's no ambiguity anymore. You can say what you want, and I'm not going to let it take me down. But at the same time, it's really quite interesting music lyrically. There's more nuance to it than that. But what I kind of dig about it is just how relatively minimalist the vocals are, in a way that contrasts with the complexity of the actual musical arrangement. We've got a variety of different sort of like orchestral, like not cinematic textures there. The foley, the sounds of the suspense, you can hear the footsteps and everything like that. You can hear like the keys and everything like that. The audiovisual experience itself is quite intense with all the effects you've got on the video and everything like that. You can tell there's been quite a budget put behind this, which considering Northwest's appearance and also the kind of resources they probably have, I'm not surprised by that. But at the same time, I just feel that in isolation itself, it's just having all these different guitar, bass, and drum parts and sort of synthetic textures and everything like that, rises, etc., to just have those tuned vocals, they're stylized and almost sort of synthetic in texture and approach, just creates this interesting melody through it that works. It's present there. It's kind of got this really interesting amalgamation of different sort of styles within the piece itself there. Also sort of like modern sort of rap and hip hop stylings with the vocal takes, but also clearly the rock and metal influences with the down-tuned guitars and distorted picking and everything like that, as well as the street guitar solo with the tapping near the end. And I think that that's just been a natural direction, I suppose, of a lot of the music that came out in the mid-2000s, having this kind of style of kind of chugged kind of distortion and double kicks, etc. I think it's just an interesting sort of like combination of having the hip hop and rap elements and stylings of the vocals, with the kind of legato feel to a lot of it, with that very sort of minimalist, chorus verse chorus as well. There's a similar rhythmic cadence and approach to the range that we're in, where vocally we're comfortable in a head and chest voice. And yeah, of course, the tuning on it, the way that we're kind of cutting our voice in terms of an effects chain is going to mean that we hit those notes, but it doesn't seem like we're struggling within our range. We articulate those notes well. And we don't sort of like overreach or overextend into going into any sort of like fry or any kind of like growls or shrieks or anything like that at this point. I think they're trying to sort of maybe balance out how clean the vocals sound outside of the processing with those chugged guitar parts and leads, etc. Because even in that verse section there, without the guitars for some parts of it there, you've still got so much going on with those twin harmonies and stuff. But it almost sounds expression-wise almost nonchalant, like we're trying not to show that we care too much, whilst also working within the minor key to indicate that we are still struggling with it from an emotional perspective. It's like we're trying to front, but we do feel it. But like just from a structural perspective there, you have this piece at 1 minute 43, which is incredibly short. It's short and sweet there. My understanding is the EP doesn't have a whole lot of long tracks within it. These are almost kind of like tasters of what's to come there. And I think that, especially on a first sort of listen basis, say first impressions, I think that's a clever idea. If you had your first song as something that was outside the 4-minute sweet spot on the longer end, you really do have to make sure that every single box is ticked nowadays, especially with the attention economy here that we have in order to keep people interested. You have the kind of spooky wind foliage that kind of glows and whispers there in pads. You have these kind of synthetic kind of like risers and like kind of sort of glitchy bits on the side there, these vocal chops as well. And then kind of like filtered guitar parts as well. They're eliciting a sense of understanding what the music is going to turn into at some point. And then once all the kind of like rhythm sort of guitar and bass and drum parts come in, it's thick and full of life, but it's in a range where it allows Northwest to be comfortable on top of that platform, with a mixture of interesting sort of like 8th, quarter and 16 note grooves on the kit, including the cymbals, kicks and snares there, with a driving pummeling performance there that elevates the guitar parts in the same, which have a great rhythmical unison with those, the bass being prolific in the low end but not too dominant, but still thick and full enough to be able to make it sound nice and heavy. And I think there's also some extra guitar parts on the sides there. It's a really well layered performance and instrumentally as well there. We could have simply had enough going on with those sort of lower tuned guitars without needing additional takes in the mid range on the side there, but we were not taking, it was like we're doing call and responses there to kind of go into the bow, bow, that kind of confrontational fourth interval, like kind of harmony or something like that. And there's this kind of fizzy synth underneath there that makes it seem very sort of lush and almost trance, like we're incorporating some EDM-ish elements there. The metalcore influences of the early 2010s are heavy. But what was kind of dope as well, I think, was simply, from watching the video, you don't often have the bold move of having the footsteps kind of come in like the 1 minute 05 mark, where you can see them walking across the rubble in the darkness there. That is a rare thing. Usually you'll have people not trying to mess or affect the groove of the track too much, especially with the steps not necessarily being in time with the percussion. They're almost like polyrhythmic. And it kind of brings you out of the lull of maybe, even if you're really digging the chorus, we're literally not taking the listener's attention for granted here. We're like, okay, even though we know this track is short, we still need to add something different here. And you bring them out of that kind of what they used to there to sort of make them focus more on the video at that point. And these kind of stabs and brum and these interesting sort of effects and sounds that we have there kind of they perpetuate a feeling of drama and suspense and tension. And as you have the guitar kind of wind up with some interesting sort of like vibratos and slides and bends and like kind of tappy bits there, you just really feel like the guitar parts in particular have been well articulated, and we've explored the range of the instrument with some pinch harmonics and other parts there as well, and other bits. And as you kind of get that tremolo picked outro as the door opens there, there's just a nice connection between what's being heard and what's being said there. It's like a victory step, like everything is rising up until that point where we take the step to open the door. And as you have those kind of breathing sounds and things coming in and out, oscillating in the background underneath that, it's just so busy, but at the same time, you kind of appreciate how intense it is for Northwest at this point. It's thoroughly well produced. Like, I think that you couldn't have really gotten away with more than this, not because it was uninteresting, but because I just think it was just so tight with its transitions. You could very easily just have boom, 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 and be done with the EP and have the whole story in that front, and I think that's exactly what they're going for here. But I just feel like there's also so much going on the stuff I've missed. Ultimately though, those main components alone are enough to elevate this track to being quite, like, interesting. And I'm being genuine about this. I'm not glazing because I feel like I need to, because of Northwest's age, for example. This is just very good music. There are things that can be taken away from this track which I think can be applied to people who want to make this kind of music and are trying to do it. There is a lot going on here. Thematically, this track's in a minor orient, key signature, which makes total sense because why would this be a happy situation for Northwest? But there's just inherent groove and rhythm to the guitars as well. Things are so tight with the way it puts forward. The tempo facilitates that. The constant shift between those kind of cinematic, kind of dramatic, additional overdubs and effects sounds. The way the guitars, bass, and drums come in and out and adjust their meter and pitch and cadence there. The way that Northwest is the reliable part in the center whenever they appear there, whenever they're sort of spitting their truth on the verse parts or sort of singing off over top on those chorus elements. But also the fact that Northwest stops and just allows herself to be more of a character within the movie as well, so that you're more invested again with those steps. It's just having that minor leaning there with it being diatonic, not to be too kind of clashy there. You could have potentially gone heavy if you added some chromatics or like diminished or flat seconds or something like that, but we didn't need that. It's meant to also be catchy. And I feel like they found a good equilibrium between the heaviness and the catchiness. And there's even little bits of vinyl crackle there, like around that 1:30 mark, because this is just really interesting. Because studio production, recording, mixing, and mastering wise, the leveling is fantastic. The quality of the vocal recording, again, outside of the stylization, the tuning of it, the compression, the reverb, etc., very sort of like palatable and fragrant. The guitars, bass, drums, synths, risers, keys, vinyl crackle, etc. All of those are positioned well within the stereo field and the frequency spectrum with no resonant frequencies there. Just the use of layering and sub-layering, sub-leads at the start there, never allowing things to sit too long. For a second, the use of follow with the footsteps as well implemented to a point where they're sort of dominant in certain parts there, but not in a way where it chokes the track or is confusing. There is dynamic range. The track isn't the same loudness all the time from both a composition and production perspective. And finally, it's nice and loud without pumping. Well, a bit of pumping from the sidechaining of the kicks and stuff like that, but not to a point where it kind of chokes it. Bus compression limiting is handled. No applicable constructive critique from me personally. As someone who likes both my electronic music and metal, it's probably a given that I would like this kind of track. It's just a really unexpected combination of elements, especially the cute little kind of like Japanese kind of like vocoder, Vocaloid parts there that we had. And at the start and the finish there, it's just very sort of mysterious. There have been so many people that have tried to talk about stories where they're misunderstood and how they're trying to get by and everything like that. And it's not an uncommon topic for me when I review music for people, but it's just all the other things that are included within this, including again, the music video itself, how much work's been put into that, plus the actual, the production and songwriting involved and the way things have been put together. It's actually kind of sophisticated. And I just think that if every track is like this, I feel like we've got something special going on here. So I wish Northwest all the best in future with their music, but thank you very much for watching my review of this track from Northwest titled North Forever. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please go show them some love via their various social medias. I'm sure this will be on all digital stream platforms. And stay cool and stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as they need to help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world. And I'll catch you in the next SB reviews. Spiderhands out.